You could feel the stadium tilt the second that ball left Aaron Judge's bat, a line drive that didn't so much fly as declare itself. The Bronx rose and the moment sharpened. His 50th home run of the year, a 3-run blast that felt less like another stat and more like a punctuation mark on a career that keeps insisting it belongs in the rarest of company. By the time Judge added number 51 in the eighth, the Yankees had an 8-1 win, the Bronx crowd had given him a standing ovation, and the division race tightened because while New York won, Toronto lost. Suddenly, the Yankees and Blue Jays were neck and neck at the top of the AL East. Let's not get cute about it. 50 homers in a season is elite. Doing it 4 separate times is almost mythical. Judge now sits with Babe Ruth, Mark McGwire, and Sammy Sosa as the only players in MLB history to reach 50 homers in 4 different campaigns. The unvarnished context matters here. McGwire and Sosa's eras are shadowed by PD suspicions and admissions, which is why fans and pundits often frame Judge and Ruth together as the clean standard bearers in a club that otherwise feels like a footnote to baseball's messy late 20th century chapter. Judge's milestone is therefore both a numbers headline and a cultural one. He's refilling a very old, very pure well. But numbers like this are only the doorway. What you want to know is why Judge keeps doing it and what this means for the Yankees' present and near future. Start with the obvious. He's enormous and athletic, but physical gifts alone don't repeat themselves each season. What separates Judge is a synthesis of elite power with elite selectivity. He doesn't just swing to hit homers, he waits, he draws walks, he picks counts, he punishes mistakes and refuses to chase bait pitches out of the zone. That combination drives an OPS most hitters chase for an entire career. Judge posts it season after season. In an era defined by velocity and shifting pitching arsenals, Judge has remained a model of adaptation and consistency. The club-level ripple effects are clear. This is not a solo exhibition. Judge's thunder in the middle of the order changes how pitchers approach the Yankees' entire lineup. If you can't get to Judge without risking productively punishing pitches to the likes of secondary sluggers, then you're forced to nibble, and the team's on-base engine hums. Judge's presence lengthens at-bats for everyone behind him. Pitchers can't simply attack the zone as aggressively as they would otherwise. In the tight pursuit of playoff seeding, that ripple is tactical currency. And yes, the Yankees are tied with Toronto atop the division after Wednesday. That's consequential. The Blue Jays still hold the head-to-head edge, but a tie at this stage is a shot of adrenaline. For a franchise that measures calendars in October, timing is everything. Judge's late-season power surge does 2 things at once. It makes runs for the Yankees more likely, and it sharpens the narrative pressure on the Blue Jays. Head-to-head tiebreakers matter, injuries matter, bullpen health matters. And a guy who can manufacture runs in a single swing changes the risk calculus every time he steps into the box. This year's MVP chase adds another flavor to the story. Judge was a heavy favorite not long ago, but the market has tightened. Seattle's Cal Raleigh has surged, hitting big power numbers from behind the plate and buoyed by defensive value that voters weight heavily. Still, Judge's case isn't just about homers, it's about context. He's sustained an absurd OPS since 2022, and that level of production from the middle of a lineup is rare currency. Voters will debate counting stats versus positional value, but the reality is simple. Judge's 2-way impact, run creation plus situational pressure, keeps his candidacy central. Let's be honest about the broader landscape too. This season's power outbreak has been weirdly pure. Aside from Judge, names like Shohei Ohtani and Kyle Schwarber join him at the 50 HR mark, and those are clean, contemporary stars reshaping how teams think about allocation and roster construction. Pre-2000s steroid-era debacles aside, seeing multiple players hit 50 homers in the same non-steroid-tainted era says something about the modern game. Launch angles, training, nutrition, and an obsession with generating value per plate appearance have matured. Judge stands out because he combines raw muscle with refined approach and defensive competence. He isn't a one-trick slugger. There's also a leadership element. Judge is more than the walk-up song or the highlight reel. He's a clubhouse fulcrum. In a locker room that features megastars and pressurized egos, his steadiness matters. Young hitters watch how he processes failure, how he handles the daily grind, how he treats conditioning as a non-negotiable that wears into a team culture. The Yankees may be a star-studded roster on paper, but culture bifurcates contenders from pretenders. Judge's consistency isn't purely statistical, it's cultural. He's setting a template for how to navigate modern expectations. We should also talk practical postseason math. An extra 40-foot dinger in the division race is shorthand for something deeper. The Yankees can manufacture one big swing that ends a rally, shifts a bullpen plan, or forces a reliever into unplanned exposure. In short series baseball, those moments compound. If Judge takes the plate and the opposition must throw their best heat to avoid the long ball, that changes bullpen usage across an entire series. That's an edge only a handful of lineups possess. The Yankees with Judge on have it every day. Still, the story isn't without tension. MVP races are about narratives and timing. The Yankees' playoff path is messy. They need pitching to stand tall and a bullpen to hold against good offenses. Judge can't carry the team alone. Teams don't win October on one man's back, but what he does is tilt the odds in New York's favor. He doesn't just make a single play, he changes opponents' game plans. In an MLB where bullpen arms are prized like stock options and matchups are micromanaged, that subtle tilt can become the difference between hosting games 1 and 2 or playing on the road. And let's not forget the optics. Standing ovations, the roar of the Bronx, the social media clips. Those moments matter because baseball is still a public theater. Judge's milestones are ticket-selling moments. They lift a fan base and energize a market that lives for October. The emotional gravity of a player hitting historic numbers for the Yankees, a franchise with its own mythic weight, stokes narratives that are as old as the game. Where does this all end? We don't know. Seasons finish, momentum shifts, and baseball's long grind is merciless. Injuries, slumps, and bullpen collapses lurk on the horizon. But for now, Judge is doing more than piling up highlight reels. He's threading modern mechanics into old-school muscle, all while keeping the ethical ledger clean. That's a rare, combustible mix. So when you rewind the highlight, the crack, the flight, the stadium rising, remember this: you weren't watching just another home run. You were watching a premium combination of talent, preparation, and timing that keeps rewriting what we think is possible. In a world where history gets messy and records get footnoted, Aaron Judge keeps making a simple, stubborn claim. Some achievements are worth watching, and not just for the number, but for the way they make everything around them change. Imagine hitting 50 homers in a season, then doing it 4 separate times. Aaron Judge just joined a club so rare it basically needs a museum wing. Babe Ruth, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, and now Judge. And unlike 2 of those names, Judge is writing his chapter without the circus of scandal. He did it with authority. A 3-run blast to break the mark at Dodger Stadium, then added number 51 later in the game as the Yankees rolled to an 8-1 win. The Bronx erupted. Standing ovation, legend moment, the whole script. That homer didn't just pad a stat line. It tied New York with Toronto atop the AL East and turned a personal milestone into a team swing at the division lead. So why does this matter beyond the highlight reel? First, rarity. 4 50 home run seasons